Welcome, everybody, to When Joshalynn Speaks. I am super excited to have you all join me here today. Now, we are going to be discussing a very important topic that I feel needs to greatly be discussed, not just in communities, but especially in the Black communities. So, today we are going to be talking about why the Black man has forgotten that he is the head of the household. I will go into different sectors of this topic because there is so much area to cover here. And if we want to be the ones to make a change, especially for the generations to come and our children and our children's children, we have to start right here. These are the topics that are greatly needing to be discussed, but oftentimes get overlooked. So I do have a special guest that I do want to bring on to the show today, someone who is very, very important to me, a mentor, an advocate, someone who is a humanitarian, and just someone who is very open to discuss these topics as well. So I want to welcome on my special guest, Knowledge Born Allah. Let me go ahead and bring him on. Welcome, Knowledge. Thank you for coming to the show. How are you today?
I am good. I am
Good.
good. I am happy to be here on this blessed occasion with someone who is adding abundance and blessings in my life on a daily and a consistent basis with your guidance, with your leadership, and with your boss ability. So when Jocelyn speaks, I believe the world needs to listen and hearken to this voice. This is the divine being who is here to boss us up and increase in our life. So I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Knowledge, me and you have, talked on so many different levels, which has been very liberating. And, oftentimes, especially people who are at a place of ascension, people who are always trying to do better, trying to progress. It's hard for us to talk to a lot of people because a lot of people are not at that same place spiritually. They're not at the same place just in life. You have to be very careful with who you are even sharing certain energies with and things of that nature. But I say all that to say this is that we often have been looking over a lot of topics that are needing to be discussed. I'm someone who is on social media a lot because I do a lot on social media. So I see a lot of things, and we are glorifying so many topics and so many irrelevant topics. And, you'll see people, hundreds of people tuning in to something that really is not doing anything for the community, or that's really not doing anything for your growth and development, or that's just not adding any substance. I often say either things are assets or things are liabilities in your life. And there is no in between there. So, I want to most definitely make that clear and make that noted. And I want to be the one to open up the topics that need to be discussed. And today's topic, we are going to be talking about why has the Black man forgotten that he is the head of the household? And, my shows are not ever scripted at times. I wish that maybe they were, because it would help me to just stay on track, because these topics can be very emotional. There will be a lot of people that will be feeling a lot of type of ways. There will be some people that probably won't tune into the show because of the topic. There are going to be some who are like, oh, I don't want to hear about that. But, hopefully this show will be a show that will be for people who are meant to receive the message. Because even though we cannot repair everyone, there are often times where I say, what, if I was Miss America, what would I do? I would try to change the world. I would try to make every community better. But you have to be in partnership in order to do that. You cannot do that alone. So, you can only help people who want to help themselves. And to furthermore discuss the topic that we are going to be talking about right now, as why the Black man has forgotten that he's the head of the household, is because I feel that that's where a lot of the error is going wrong in the Black community. Because if the black man has forgotten that he is the head of the household, now you have women who are running astray. Now you have more women who are promiscuous. Now you have men who are just running rapid. They have no goals for themselves. They have no goals for their offspring. They have no goals whatsoever. Where have we gone wrong, in your opinion, as to why this generation no longer appreciates the fact or accept the fact that there has to be structure in the black home, and it does start with the head of the household?
I mean, I could look at that in a myriad of ways. So I'll speak to it foundationally. I know y'all hear traffic in the background. There's people that's on the road and they're speeding up and down this strip that I'm on. They're not out here in control of their own destiny. They're not speeding because they're in a rush to get somewhere that's by their own design. That design is being made for them. These are office hours. These are workers' hours. You understand? The owners are not speeding anywhere. You understand what I'm saying? But the workers are. So the
Yep.
workers are speeding up and down this strip to make the demands of someone else's dream or vision made manifest. So the dreams and visions of manifest destiny for our European counterparts was to find a labor force to be able to grow their capital throughout the world. And the most efficient and sufficient worker in that labor force that they could find that could withstand any type of turmoil, any type of harsh climate, any type of dis-ease or that would be black people. So whether you're black people that are native to this landmass or black people from the mother continent, they found that indiscriminate to what environment or what weather conditions we would produce. So the breakdown began with the determined idea that we're going to create a new world indiscriminate of England where we will have a labor force that would serve us in the way that we were serving England. That's one part. The other part comes into play where which there was a betrayal of the black woman by the black man, and we have yet to atone for it. And because we have done wrong to our sisters, we have not heralded the black woman in the way that she should be heralded. We suffer for those sins. We suffer for those transgressions. We suffer continuously and daily for our neglect and disrespect and allowing the neglect and disrespect of our woman. So when we look at those two myriad opposing forces right here, you see where our sisters become celebrated and elevated, and by whom, and whom our sisters become exploited and degraded by whom. So when you look at that, the Holy Quran says something simple. Where you find no good men, you will find no good women. Real simple. Where you find no good men, you will find no good women. So now we get into the psychology and the behavioral patterns. We went over the betrayal, that's a root. And then we look at the after effect of the betrayal in regards to capitalistic gain by outside entities or forces or people. So now the internal work of accountability and responsibility comes back to us as black men. There are other factors that are there: mass incarceration, the drug wars, all of these other maladies that are there. So when you get into behavior, if your aspiration is to be like your enemy, you will treat your enemies, your woman, like the enemy treats theirs. You understand? So when you look at this labeling behavior, the aspirations in the success models and the motivation is a mantra. That's MOB. We have a hip hop culture that celebrates the degradation and disrespect of black women, and they got a phrase like MOB. You understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's not motivation, that's degradation. So the uplift from that on the vantage point or the outside is a celebration of the degradation of your own women. And they got money for you, they have a budget for that. You see what I'm saying? So when we get into that, that becomes something that is seeded into the minds and motivations of young people, young brothers in particular, that modeling behavior. One example is, if you are rightly guided, you can rightly guide others. So this example. So if you've seen a black man, love a black woman, you can learn how to love a black woman vicariously through this situation. You see what I'm saying? And in turn, if a black woman love you, you will learn how to love a black woman. But we exist in a societal situation, virtually and physically, where there is a gender war, to where, you know, you got, for the sisters, they got a mantra, DTA. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, and DTN, don't trust no, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we, who is giving us these mantras? Who's giving us this call and response type of situation? And who else is benefiting off of this cultural divide that exists? You see what I'm saying? So artfully and scientifically and psychospiritually, music, the thing that motivates us and moves us, has become an enemy. You see what I'm saying? Our spiritual systems, things that motivate and move us, have become an enemy to us. You see what I'm saying? So when you look at, you know, all of these aspects, it's a myriad of levels in which we are attacked in this spiritual war, the war for the hearts and minds of our children. They're after our children and our children's children and our
Yeah.
children's children's children. You see what I'm saying? In an artful way, to where which it looks fair seeming. It looks like you have the choice, like you're making the choice. You understand? Like it's your decision. But you're operating off of stimuli that is already pressed in your head. I came up in an era with men. If you was doing wrong, you couldn't be around those men. Those men came to see you. You understand what I'm saying? If you was out there, doing wrong, the men came to see you. You could not be amongst those men, and you had children, and you weren't taking care of your children.
Yeah.
You couldn't be doing wrong to women, and nobody come see you.
Yeah.
So the centers of power have moved and changed, where that, type of rites of passage situation has been removed. So the modeling behavior of effeminization and the celebration of effeminization of the black man really, really, really put him in a position, us in a position where which we find ourselves subject. You
Yeah.
can't rule if you're a subject. You understand what I'm saying? We know the meanings and the powers of words and how those words, have a resonance and a frequency with us. You cannot rule being subjected. You are a subject. You understand what I'm saying? Like, so someone is studying you, someone is experimenting on you, someone is subjecting you to their rulership and their dominion over you. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I love your mantra of boss, because it empowers and awakens the natural essence within you and propels you to go and do. You see what I'm saying? So if you look at yourself as a worker and you're supposed to be the head of the house, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I understand that relationship. If you don't have that mantra of who you're working for and why you're working and all of that, then you're going to be subjected to that mentality. You won't want any more for yourself. If you don't want any more for yourself, you're not going to want anything more for your family. So, putting it back into perspective, we identify the outliers, and then you add these other mitigating circumstances where which the psychology of the black man has been killed, has been
So
robbed. Go ahead.
yeah. So how do we begin to repair? Because granted, there will be a lot who will watch this and probably will watch it again, and ultimately that's what we're hoping for, because we can make changes throughout the community. We can make changes throughout our homes. We can make changes with our children, because it starts with us. They always say that it starts in the home, and that's greatly true. But like you said about these mitigating circumstances, like when we're adding other things into the equation, again, we can kind of breach off into another sector as to how some men, and not just men, we don't want to just say that it's just Black men, because it's not. But for the graces of today's show, we are speaking on the Black man. So I have to really hone in on this topic, because I often see that it's the Black homes that are struggling the most, where either the father wasn't there, there was something that happened where it was imbalanced, it was not a mother and the father in the home, and that can turn into a lot of other traumatizing experiences, as a child, and for everybody that is around that circumstance. So, now us moving forward, we're in this generation where you see so many people have forgotten what it means to have a household with a man and with a woman, and to raise children as a unit. Like, we get into it, you go sleep on the couch and we're gonna get up and we're gonna do it again tomorrow. Everybody is so quick to give up, because I feel that they don't have those morals, rather, I'm sorry, instilled in them. They don't have those ethics, or they come from a broken home and no one has taught them, this is what to do, or this is how it should look. And granted, we can talk about many different religions. We can talk about many different tribes and things of that nature. When you look at the Black community, it is the Black community where they have a lot of the trauma, because how it was structured growing up as a child. So now when you fast forward and you have people like yourself or others who may be watching, and they did come from that era where maybe their grandmother raised them, or they come from a family with a mother and a father, they'll look at this and they might say, you know what, that can be a contributing factor, but it has to start with us accepting that, look, we have been programmed, or a lot of us have been traumatized to see this or to see that, but we also have as well. Where do we begin? And the reason why I ask this, because there'll be a lot of people who may be watching this live, because we are streaming on a few different platforms right now. So maybe some will only be able to listen in. They cannot see us here, but I want to say that let me ask you this before I proceed. Are you a married man?
I am.
And as a married man, from your viewpoint, because a lot of people will have their own perspective, a lot of people will have their own viewpoints, and that's fine. That is actually a healthy thing, to have those different viewpoints. But we also have to have the mental capacity to say, you know what, I have to know when to have an unbiased opinion and a biased opinion. A lot of people don't want to see things from that unbiased opinion. So that's why things often go wrong. Now, tell me, from your perspective, as you being a married man and you being in the household, what would you say the head of the household is?
That's an excellent question. I believe the head of the household is an agreement, the contractual agreement, or what they would call in scripture a covenant. You see what I'm saying? Like, um, marriage and family is our oldest religion, so it transcends time and space. We come from the family of the divine, and from the family of the divine, we incarnate into the physical world with duties and responsibilities in an egalitarian, complementary sense. So, marriage and head of the household is an agreement. It's an assumed role, not a right by virtue of being a man. I think we need to throw that trash in the trash. I think we have
Yes.
to understand it from our cultural perspective. Whatever your culture is defines your standing in regards to the community. So embracing your cultural aspect, whether it's indigenous to this landmass or all the way back to the mother continent, and we have to have an understanding of how to operate in those particular spaces. You know, we have a contrary culture that is operating today, contrary to our natural order. You understand what I'm saying? So, if a man is to rule as head of the house, he is empowered with that duty and responsibility by the women and the woman and the children in the house. That's his role. They empower him in his role. They hold him accountable in his role. Just for instance, if I could go back to ancient Kemet, for instance, as I was taught, they said every year the people went and sought guidance from the divine of whether or not to kill the king every year. You understand what I'm saying? So this
Yeah.
assumed role of the king on the throne with his dominion was commensurate with his capabilities to be able to govern the nation and ensure that the people, were able to thrive. So if they were thriving, the king was good. If they weren't thriving, it's an issue with the king. So I think nowadays, I think from a topical perspective, head of the household, we want head of the household title without head of household responsibility and accountability.
Yes.
And that's not how we were anciently composed. I can talk this man, and I don't know what this other. I don't agree with that alpha male shit. You understand? But
Yeah.
I can see what they're talking about. So like if they want to go back and look at Greco-Roman society, you have to go see what you had to do to become an alpha male. You understand? So if you were a black man and you're running around talking this alpha male stuff, do a little research. You understand? So when you're talking about from a perspective, from your cultural standpoint, as a black man, as an African man, or one indigenous to this landmass, it's a different type of culture. You understand? So you can't say you want to be the head without dealing with head responsibility and accountability. So the success and the failure is dependent upon you acting inherently in that role. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, uh, if stuff is awry in the house, you got to check yourself. You understand what I'm saying? You got to check yourself, and you have to check in with those uh, people that you are accountable to and responsible to, and also from the spiritual perspective, you know, check in with those particular forces, check in with your ancestors, check in what however you are operating within that household.
Yeah.
So they say marriage is a business, family is a business. You understand? Like that's the business, that's your spiritual dominion, that's your political stance. All of these stances where we go outside of the home to participate in, we don't participate with them within the home. And that's an issue. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Walmart is somebody's last name. You understand? Disney is someone's last name. What does that mean? Family business. So how in the world have we got I'm head of the household and I go work for somebody else? We don't have family business. You understand? What's the business of the family? What is your last name known for? And that's contrary to how we've come up, even in our sojourn in captivity in America, for whom that applies to. You
Yeah.
still went to Mr. Johnson's house or, Mr. Jones' house for a particular skill set that their family was endowed with. So if you went to Mr. Jones' house and Miss Jones did, all of the dresses. Mr. Jones did all of the suits, whatever the case may be. Your house, your last name was known for something. You understand?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have to approach the situation in regards to what the head is. The head is the capstone of the body, and it's made from the top down. You understand? Like they be like, oh, as long as you got a solid foundation. Like, no, your body is shaped in the gestational period in the womb from the top down. You understand? And then when it's time for the body to come into the physical world, it makes a 180-degree turn to come out head first. Look at the dynamics of nature and how nature imbues us with a particular spirit to move in a certain kind of way of how important your head is. If your
Yes.
head ain't in it, your heart ain't in it. If that heart ain't in it, that spirit ain't in it, and your ability to will and do and overcome is out. You understand what I'm saying? Like you could be ready, like in your head, like yeah, I could do it, but your body not working with you because your body don't believe you. You understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So if you talking this head of the household stuff and all it is talk, your body don't believe you. Your woman don't believe you. Your children don't believe you. They looking at you like you some sucker. You understand? That
Yes.
movie, Us. I don't know if you've seen that movie, Us.
I have.
The brother was the head of the household until his decision making was detrimental to the family. And the sister said, "You can't make no more damn decisions. You ain't in charge no more." You
Yeah.
understand? And what he had to do, he had to go sit his ass down on that ambulance with his son, like, hey, or his daughter, like, well, your mama know what she doing. You understand?
Yeah.
And I think that was powerful. And if you look at that, the part in what's that movie, Black Panther, with the general of the army and her king,
Yep.
and she chose the nation over him. He said, "You would really?" She said, "In a heartbeat." And he had to submit. You understand what I'm saying? Like, these are instances where which we're not looking at, when we're not operating within the confines of the agreement, that contract becomes null and void, and we got to negotiate new terms now.
Yeah.
So this is wisdom that comes in regards to the head of the household. So the head of the household is an agreed upon. So as long as you're not in breach or in violation of the terms of this contract, of this business that you form together with your partners for their future, you good to go. Otherwise, you got to sit your ass on that ambulance have a seat and get it together. Then, you know,
Yeah. It sounded like you probably was having a little bit of technical difficulty, but I know you're outside, so that's okay. I'm happy that you took the opportunity to elaborate on the head of the household, because again, you have to be at a certain place in understanding and understanding, for that matter, on what the requirements are and what the steps are and what it takes to be the head of the household. And communication is key. And even still, it's going to take a lot to repair the household. It's going to take a lot to repair the Black communities. But again, this is going to be a great start by talking about these things and pointing out, that we probably did get to this place because of ignorance, or because of just simply not knowing. I mean, granted, you have those who simply don't care. I've ran into a lot of Black men. I have seen a lot of Black households, and again, a lot of them do not have that structure. They do not have that agreement there. So when you don't have that proper understanding, you don't have that proper understanding, you're all over the place, and that creates more problems. I would like to take this opportunity now to especially talk about, for me, as a Black woman, just the experiences that I've had with speaking with Black men, or even dating some Black men. It has to be in unison. There has to be a certain level of understanding. That's when you had said that that relationships are also a business. That's true, because you can love somebody all day. They might have the best sex. They might kiss you the best that you've ever been kissed out of anybody else that you've ever had, or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, if you do not have business aspects within that relationship, you have nothing. Because if we can't sit down and talk about our blueprint, or we can't sit down and talk about what's going to happen within the next 5, 10, or 15 years, or what's going to happen after we're gone, or what's going to happen with the kids, it's a problem. Just earlier I said you either have assets or you have liabilities. And when I look around and I see so many Black men and Black women who are dealing with this on an everyday basis, where walls have been built, where they're not trusting anymore. You have so many people, with so many sexual partners, because they don't trust, or because they don't believe, or because of what they have been through. So now no homes are being created. There are children being born out of wedlock, not once, not twice, consecutively. It's happening. You see women who have multiple children with multiple fathers. And this is something that is happening, but this is something that can also be changed, because again, when you do not have that head of household to lean on, when you don't have that partnership, when you don't have that business structure, when you don't have that communication, where do you go at that point, especially as a Black woman? I have been in situations where I have given what I feel would be my all, and you have some black men, not all of them, they have been hurt, they have been lied to, they didn't have a positive role model around when they were younger, they didn't have anyone to say don't do this and don't do that, and then what happens is they end up taking it out on good people sometimes, and that can work a lot of ways. Sometimes we have been so hurt and we have been so traumatized that, you know, when someone good comes into your life, we got this wall up and you can miss out on your blessings greatly like that. So how do you suggest, what would be some of the first key things that you feel that can be done amongst our black men to help them to step into their roles again and being the head of the household and knowing exactly what that means, and knowing that if we don't have structure, if we don't have balance, then we're all out of whack. You know, you can be the most successful black man, you can be the most you can have all the leadership in the world, but if you do not have that mate, if you do not have that balance, you're still imbalanced. Where do we go as black women to find that structure, that stability? You know, a lot of women have gotten to a place where they are strong, they are empowered, they can pay their own bills and things like that. You know, every woman has not chosen to be independent just because she wants to be independent. And a lot of women have not had a choice because no man is stepping up and saying, you know what, I am the head of the household and you're my partner and I got you. How do we change that mindset that, yes, it's okay to be with one person? It's okay to, or even still, even if you didn't have, maybe you got multiple wives, I don't care. But there still has to be a business aspect. There still has to be a head of the household, and there still has to be structure. I wanted to clear that up because a lot of people might be like, Joshalynn, you know what? It might not just be one woman. It might be more than one. So I wanted to make that a fact, that could be a circumstance as well.
Whatever your cultural construct that governs you, whatever that cultural construct that governs you emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, and physically, that's the center that you have to return to. You know, I approach things from an African center. I operate in the space of African psychology. So that's my center, that's my force, that's my refuge, that's my situation of accountability and responsibility. So my moral compass derives from that particular spiritual path. Now, I've been in different spiritual settings and places, different spiritual initiations and rites of passages over the years, from, you know, the material to the immaterial. And along that path, I learned hard ass lessons. You see what I'm saying? Because when you're dealing with, you know, a black man on his healing journey,
Yeah.
there's roads. You see what I'm saying? There's roads and there's compound interest and there's shit you gotta atone for. You can't be out here being a fool, and then when you become wise, you don't have to deal with or be held accountable for your foolish ass behavior. You see what I'm saying? Like, so for the wrongdoing that you have destroyed, the nations that you have destroyed, and when I say nations that you have destroyed, the black women that you have destroyed or caused further damage or harm to, on whatever level that is, you are held accountable, because a nation can rise no higher than its woman. When you teach a man, you teach a man. When you teach a woman, you teach a nation. So what happens when you don't teach a woman? What happens when you are part of the problem and the hurt force and the extent of the trauma? What have you just done to that nation? You understand what I'm saying? You got to be held accountable for that. You have to atone for that. You have to make right for that. And that nation that's within that woman has an ancestral army that you have to atone to and be accountable for. So not only are in this healing process are you healing these things within yourself, you have to heal things generationally. You see what I'm saying? So by healing yourself, by working on yourself, by seeking that particular counsel that you need, you are healing for the men in your generations that preceded you and the men in the generations that will come after you. So that's a focal point. That's a place. And you need a community of brothers that are healing or have healed and that can give you that proper insight and guidance as a man. You understand? Because the difference between a boy and a man is responsibility and
Yes.
accountability. So as the black man comes into manhood, he has a charge to, to get with a black woman and begin to build a nation. I don't believe you if you don't have no nation. You understand? I don't care how much money you got. I don't care what you call success. I don't believe you if you are not with a black woman that can see that sight beyond sight, and y'all can begin to grow a family, to grow a nation. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't believe you. I could care less. You understand? So from our foundation or from our capstone, we come from families. Our duty and responsibility is family. So whether you look in the Bible, that first commandment was to be fruitful and multiply. You understand? So how can you be on this planet and not follow that commandment? You understand what I'm saying? You're like, all this bills, this responsibility, and well, who gonna do this and who gonna take care of all these children? What you say? How did you get here? What if those that preceded you said the same thing? You would not be here to do your duty and responsibility. You have a mission on this planet. You're not here haphazardly. You understand? Your circumstances that got you here might be haphazard, but there's nothing haphazard about you. You have a duty, you have a responsibility, you are a redeemer, you are an ambassador of your bloodline, you are the best of their creation, you are the hope of those who came before you. You see what I'm saying? So when we return to those senses with those mantras, when we're speaking to young men and young women, if we're not speaking life to them and then not showing them by an example, if we're not empowering them and growing them within that particular purpose, this is what the purpose of the village. This is where the adage comes from. It's a village. It takes a village to raise a child. So this child is set off into their particular purpose, and they're on their mission. They're supposed to be beset with empowering, and inspiration along the way, and also test. So test along the way. So if you say, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do," or "This is my life's purpose," or our cultural confines say, "We need you to be able to do this," then the community surrounds you, or that village surrounds you to empower you in your particular purpose. You see what I'm saying? So this family structure, you know, commits to this, and so does the society commits to it. So whether it's a small group of people or whatever, they all have to be enthralled with that and imbued with that particular purpose that surrounds this child to the next child to the next child to the next child all together. So if you grow young children up together and families are part of the community, they shouldn't be looking outside of their community for anybody to marry. They shouldn't be looking outside of their community for anybody to be within partnership with in business. You see, and if they fall short in a particular area, there should be no place that they go outside of their community to be able to fulfill those needs. So these are all things in regards to that foundation in our oldest religion, which is family, that family structure coming together and working together and building together. Hence this term that we throw around, nation building. Nation building begins with a family, with a black man and a black woman. I got to say that like out loud. A black man and a black woman together
Yeah.
whose
Yeah.
ancestral forces agree and work within the cultural confines of their particular spiritual path to keep that commandment. Because this is how our ancestors return into the physical world. Indiscriminate to some of this other stuff you might see out here. We have a duty and responsibility. We have an oath. We have an obligation. We have a covenant with those ancestors to ensure a safe space for them to manifest into the physical world. And they have a duty and responsibility to us on that ancestral realm to do what's necessary to help shape, guide, test, mold, cultivate, and correct us to ensure that that way stays open. So it's a shared obligation. It's a shared responsibility that needs to be recultivated. It's a family process that needs to be reintroduced into a world where family is optional or family is whatever the dominant culture or society says it is. Manhood is not optional. Womanhood is not optional. Childhood is not optional. It's a requirement. It's mandated, and there's standards where which you have to adhere to call yourself a man, a woman, or a child.
Absolutely. Now, you know, I feel that pride also can be an issue at times. And like I said, we can add a lot of different contributing factors. And you had said something about healing. Actually, you had used reference healing multiple different times. Do you feel, especially coming from a Black man standpoint, that healing will be the first order of business in order to begin to repair the homes in the Black communities? Because, you know, how can you be the head of the household and you're, again, still holding on to all this past trauma, or you're holding on to what you went through in, you know, your prior relationship, or what your dad did to you, what your mother did to you, and things like that? I feel that being that we have not had a great opportunity to heal, that has also caused so much more defect in the Black community as well, and especially in the Black homes. When we speak about healing, you know, we mean mentally, spiritually, physically, you know, letting go. How do we instill that in Black men and Black women, that this is the first place that you have to begin in order to start this repair?
Didn't Lauren Hill say, "How you gonna win if you ain't right with that?" That's what she said.
She did say that.
Because we out here, yeah, we out here to win. You see, and look at all of the tests and the trials and the tribulations and the situations that she walked through, and she still was able to, you know, have that kind of vision and still have that kind of, you know, mantra in her life. You know, she was abused and all kinds of stuff, you know, by Black men, you know, and by this industry and all and any, you know, any kind of people being, you know, pure heart and operating in the space of innocence. You in the dirty game. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So healing, be, healing is necessary because we come here with trauma and drama. We come here with trauma and drama. You
we got to get
understand?
that on the
So
t-shirt.
yeah, yeah, we grab that helmet and say, you know what? I can fix this. I'll be back in 2 days, right? We on the other side, like, yeah, yo, put me in the game, Coach J. I'm gonna clean all this up in like 20 minutes, yo. Yo, my dinner ain't even gonna be cold. I'll be right back. And we come into the physical world, and we come into the physical world like one of my favorite movies is called Unbreakable. Like Sam Jackson's character, his name was Elijah. He came into the world with both of his arms and legs broken. You see what I'm saying? So his was a physical break. It wasn't an emotional or psychological break, but because of the physical breaks and the continuous breaking through his life, it resulted in emotional and psychological and spiritual trauma. We already come with that. We're here to rectify it. We're here to learn a lesson on how to shed that skin. You see what I'm saying? So we come here with that. You know, we volunteered to come clean this place up. We have it done in 20 minutes, and we go through the birth canal. And those memories of our duty and purpose and responsibility and mission, the shit we said we was gonna have done in 20 minutes is gone in
Yeah,
most cases. 90% of the time it's gone. And if you are born into, you know, a space and place with parents that you choose or guides that you choose in the physical world who don't remember either, guess what? You made it just that hard already. So you're already coming with the compound, you know, compound interest of trauma and generations. So you got trauma in you from millions of ancestors when you come into the physical world, not just yours.
yeah,
You understand? Not just yours. So you know, the, the church say that thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So you here to do the will of your fathers and mothers that was before you. So if they didn't get no balance, if they didn't get no peace, if they didn't get no reciprocity, if they didn't get no retribution, you showed up, cat. That's what you in the game for. You understand? You in the game to win. So in order for you to win, to be in an optimal space of winning and looking to win, you have to be right from within. It begins within. One of them universal principles, the first one is all is mental, all is mind. So how do you see yourself in your mind space? You see what I'm saying? So you deal with brothers and sisters, teaching them their worth and their value. How do they see themselves? You have a space within their mind where you coach them out of the dark depths and abyss of their mind based on compound interest that's received through the trauma that's associated with coming into the physical world. You have to teach them that their mission is more important in the moment that they. You have to constantly remind them of their mission. That mantra. You have to reinforce through positive reinforcement on a multitude of levels that you are worth it. You are worthy. Like you're not here for no reason. Your self-worth, your value. You have gifts to give in this world. Like you motivate us in that manner, in that fashion. You see what I'm saying? So like it's epic to hear when Joshalynn speaks, because when Joshalynn speaks, the world is supposed to hearken to her voice. You see what I'm saying? So she is that voice of repair, that voice of reconciliation, that voice of upliftment and empowerment and resilience. And it's evident because of what you faced and overcame in the physical world.
Yeah.
And so that understanding, when it comes, you are proof that healing and transformation and elevation is possible every single day. You understand what I'm saying? So that word of power that you give to us to empower us with that mindset that you have as a coach, that you have as an upgrade, is a constant reminder of the work that's necessary, that needs to be done. It's work. It takes consistency. It takes patience. You got to be patient with yourself. You got to forgive yourself for some of these things. You understand what I'm saying? Like you have to
Yeah.
forgive those people in your life, in your ancestral lineage, that may have been wrong. You see what I'm saying? So you're healing for yourself and you're healing for them. You're healing them as you're healing yourself. So now it changes the circumstances by which, in the time and space continuum that they exist in. You see what I'm saying? Like you can change your now by changing a then. I grew up without a father. My father chose the people.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? Instead of me, he chose the people instead of me. So I grew up wanting a father who's doing the same work that I'm doing now. You understand? So I understand my father. So I'm able to heal and forgive my father because my father had a mission that he had to complete. And I can only understand that as a father to children and being a father figure to children. There's 100 children that I feed 5 days out of the week in my community. Father figure. You see what I'm saying? So I've been doing that since COVID began.
Yeah.
So that father figure, that force, coaching young men, coaching old ass men. You see what I'm saying? Building them, because indiscriminate to age, in certain instances, all of us are children. You
Yes,
see what
I
I'm
agree.
saying? So you have to look in the child state of a 70-year-old man and guide him as a father figure.
Yeah.
So he been alive for 70 years, and then in turn, I get the wisdom that he garnered from him being a 70-year-old man. So I guide him and he guides me. So we're guides. So that situation becomes a rightly guided situation for someone who could come in when that part of him is healed, that trauma is put to the test, and he prevails and he elevates. He remembers his duty and responsibility to somebody, whether it's his child or not, whether it's his grandchild or not. It's a reminder in that space. We are reminders for one another, So in that healing space, it's hard. It's hell. If you want to know what hell feel like, heal. You understand what I'm saying? Like the
Yeah.
flames of hell start to heal. It's not graceful. You might think that you might not survive.
Yeah.
But when you arise from that situation, you arise more empowered than you ever been and purposeful. And so on that level, you have to deal with whatever that is on that next level of ascension. You see what I'm saying? So Now that you're healing, you chose this path to be a healer or redeemer or an avenger. For those people who need that kind of language, you agreed to
Yeah.
be an avenger. That's why you're here. You see what I'm saying? So who are you avenging? And on what level? So when these things are purposeful, you know what you're out here doing. I talked to my nephew. I said, you have to remember who you come from. You got to be reminded sometime and who you are representative of, what bloodlines. Your father and your mother agreed together to come together for you to exist in the physical world. You're an ambassador to both of those bloodlines. Every time you put your name on your paper, every time you put your name on your paper, this is what you're doing. They named you. You see what I'm saying? Your family name. So don't you want to produce your best work? I ain't say, hey, you messing up in school and what's up with your grades, and when I see you, I'm gonna knock you out. I get to be the uncle. I get to remind you of who you and where you come from. You understand? Like you putting you and affixing your name to this particular paper. You want your best work. You want your best work. So for him having that understanding in that case, he understands now his duty and responsibility to ensure his best work. And that's a life skill. You understand? Like, so how do you want your name to be presented or represented? When people think of your name, how do you want that represented? How do you want to be remembered when you're no longer in the physical sight? Do you want to be remembered at all? You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
now you out here on the mission. What's your best work? So healing affords you the opportunity to see things in you that you couldn't see in yourself. And black man, if you with that black woman, she has sight beyond sight. She's a visionary. She can see your past, present, and future in a look. So she uplifts you and motivates you in a way, not for a present time solely, but for a time indiscriminate, for the time that you leave this physical earth all the way into the astral realm, she in the ancestral realm, she will ultimately decide how you'll be remembered.
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm died at 40, 39. Dr. Betty Shabazz is Malcolm's legacy and them six children. Dr. Martin Luther King died at 39. Coretta Scott King is his legacy and his standing in the physical world and those children that came after him. Like, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, black man, your legacy dies with you, and you won't be remembered. Nobody will remember you. So by doing that healing work and putting your best foot forward and affixing your name in that space, your name will be remembered forever. How many people talking about Tupac? You know, how many people now they talking about DMX and Black Rob and Shock
Right.
G?
A lot.
So you have to remember Nipsey Hussle. You have to remember how you want to be remembered, or you will be forgotten. So if your name is associated with detriment and destruction and devastation, your name, like it says in the Kemetic tradition, will stink. They ain't gonna bring up your name except for in disgust. So do you want to be remembered in elevation or detriment? So healing is worth that work to ensure that your legacy and everything that's associated with you would be in a, remembered in honor and remembered in perfection.
Absolutely. This is a great place for us to begin to start breaking those chains, because you said, you didn't have your father around, and that really hit my spirit, because I said, well, gosh, that even resonates even more deeply with the whole topic of this, and how it can be a repetitive occurrence that can keep happening if you don't begin to recognize the healing, start the healing process, and taking it from there. Because even myself, I didn't have a father when I was growing up. And a lot of people on the outside looking in, they'll say, oh, well, Joshalynn, you're doing so well, or you're doing so great. But you don't know some of that trauma that I have been dealing with. You don't know a lot of the healing journeys that I've been going through. You don't see how I am just trying to continue to break those chains. And even still here now at, at 35, I am still on a healing journey, and I have placed myself in a position to say, well, you know what, Joshalynn, I know that you didn't have a father, but don't allow that trauma to dictate how your future is going to be. And I feel that a lot of us are still in that place where we're saying, you know what, I blame this person or I blame that person for not being who I'm supposed to be, vibrating in my most highest frequency, instead of stepping up to the plate and saying, you know what, I have been through this, but I'm going to take that as a transfer of energy and turn that into something positive, because we do have that power to change. So, if we all get to the place where we understand that healing, and first and foremost recognizing that there is a problem, then we can begin to start that healing process. Because again, this can go on and on and on. Knowledge, I think that we might have to do a part 2 on this show, because I can really talk about this all day. It's like a domino effect of things that happens when we are not at the proper headspace, when we are not healed, when we are going through trauma and all these different things. And it can cause continuation of problems, of poor communication, of violence, rape. It goes on and on and on. But we have the power to say, you know what, we have to step up to the plate, and we have to take accountability that everything that we have been through, regardless if it caused you trauma, regardless if it has caused you happiness, we can't change any of that stuff. So if you are someone who has been battling with trauma, or you are someone who has been battling with pain, maybe you did get beat as a child, maybe you were raped, maybe you were sexually abused, maybe you just come from a dysfunctional family. There are many different things that I can say, and I'm apologetic for those things, but those things are composites of who you are today. Maybe some of the traumatic things that I've been through in my childhood or in my journey, it wouldn't have gotten me to the place that I am today. So now I'm able to accept all of the things that I have been through in my childhood, in my adolescent, teenage, all these years throughout my life. Now I am taking that as a positive exchange of energy. And I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to step up, because it's when Joshalynn speaks. Somebody has to say these things. Somebody has to point out these topics, because, we all want to say Black Lives Matter. We all want to say, I'm for my sister, I'm for my brother. But when we start talking about things that really can take a positive impact on the community, nobody wants to talk about that. We have to begin to repair today. I can repair, you can repair, this person can repair. Only thing we can do is plant the seed, and what people decide to do with it is up to them. But I'm just really hoping that, this message will penetrate throughout the people who are needing to hear this, because it is up to us how the next generations will live. It's up to us how our children are going to come up and how they're going to raise their families. It's up to us to instill in them, this is how you are to treat your husband, or this is how you are to treat your wife. This is how you are to treat someone on the street. This is how, you have to be instilled with those things. And it's unfortunate that a lot of us have not experienced to be around someone who is enlightened. Like for my grandmother, for instance, she was like a mother to me. She taught me a lot of the things that I know today, and a lot of the things that she taught me as a young girl, I'm just now beginning to understand it in my late 30s, after she has passed 10, 11 years ago. Some days I look, I'm like, Grandma, you was right. You was right. And a lot of people, they don't have that leadership when they're growing up. They don't have that father figure. They don't even have the grandmother. They don't got the auntie. They don't got none of that, and that all will contribute to how things are going on today. But if you are someone who is wanting to make a change in the household, if you're someone who is wanting to make a change in yourself, you're wanting to heal yourself and, let down those barriers and let down those walls, we have the power to do that. Every day that we wake up, you can speak that positive affirmation to yourself. You can speak manifestation over your day, how you want your day to go. If you wake up and say it's going to be a bad day, well, then guess what? It's probably going to be a bad day, because you already manifested that. The universe doesn't know when you're playing or when you're happy. They just know what comes out your mouth. And that's a powerful manifestation. They say that there's power in the tongue. I don't care where you are in your religious life, in your spiritual journey. I'm pretty sure a lot of people who are watching this, and even you, Knowledge, you've said something before and it came to fruition, and you probably have said it's a coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. You manifested that. So, we have to begin to manifest positivity. We have to begin to manifest healing. We have to begin to manifest structure in the homes. We have to manifest in breaking those generational curses. Knowledge, are you with me? Knowledge, I'm not sure if we are having a technical issue or not, but I am so thankful that you had the chance to come onto the show. There may be a part two in this show, everybody. We have been here roughly about an hour, and I do not want to continue to hold you all any longer. If for any reason you could not stay a part of this stream, you can find When Joshalynn Speaks on Facebook. You can find When Joshalynn Speaks on Spreaker. Please make sure to support and follow so you can stay updated with all the topics that we'll be talking about. And once again, everybody, I want to say thank you for being a part of the show. And it looks that our guest did just hop back on. So let me go ahead and bring him on so he can say his piece. Thank you, Knowledge, for tuning back in. Looks like we were having some technical difficulties. And while you was gone, I was just stating that I was very thankful for you to be a part of this show, and I think that this may be a topic that could be worthy of doing a part two. Because again, this is a healing process, and healing has already begun with doing this topic. Because again, this will touch those who are at a place in their life that are meant to receive this message.
I agree, and I'm honored that you found enough value in our discourse, to look for another part. So I'm equally excited. Whenever your schedule permits, I'm open. I'm here to be of service to my boss lady, CEO. My manager. You understand what I'm saying? So she gives me guidance and holds me accountable in a way that I'm able to grow, and she allowed me to see the benefit of the knowledge, skills, talents, capabilities that I have within, uh, to be of service and to be a source of upliftment and information to my community and to my family. So definitely thankful for this boss lady CEO, this boss her up right here. You understand? She boss her up. So if you have boss capability within your being, she will boss it up. You understand what I'm saying? She's a boss her up. So definitely thank you, and to your listening audience, and for those who view these archives in the future, it's been a pleasure. And let's begin the hard work so that our generations to come won't have to do as much hard work.
Absolutely. And before we end this show, Knowledge, can you tell us where you can be found at for those who will be listening in?
You can find me in St. Louis. Oh, not that. Okay, I was about to say because that's where you can find. No, I have a platform, an award-winning platform called Do the Knowledge Radio. It exists for the express purpose of providing a space, a safe space, for our people, for Black people, to promote themselves, their brands, their business, their knowledge, their skills, their capabilities, their gifts. What they're sent here to leave on the planet as a benefit for the upliftment of those who come in contact with them. I can be reached there www.donaldsradio.com, and also I have a strategic planning uh, website where I work with at-risk youth from the ages of 7 to 18 years old. You go to www.dtgempoweryou.com, the letter U.com, and see, and let's get in contact. So hold me accountable. If I'm saying something to you or saying that we need to be in a place that you don't have the know-how or the skills to be able to address your youth and they identify as at risk, we're pivoting to a non-profit situation to where which we can address those needs with no outer cost to you. So we're working with that. Me and my coach devising a bomb plan to make that happen. You know, I was at risk youth, so my passion for at risk youth is reflective of my childhood and my upbringing and my growth. So I'm proof that you don't have because you start out a certain kind of way. Let me say that doesn't mean that has to be your legacy. You can change your legacy, you can change your trajectory, and you can get back in line and in course with your duties and responsibilities here on the planet. You can follow the show on Instagram at Knowledge Monologue 357, our business page at Do the Knowledge Radio, and also A Lot of Knowledge Born. Those three pages. And I got to spell Do the Knowledge Radio for y'all because if y'all spell it how you thinking in that good European English, you will not find me. You will find somebody else. You understand? So that's DOTHAKNOWLEDGERADIO. And we're looking for guests. We're looking for hosts. If you want to host a series, if you want to be a guest on the platform, we have slots. Email me at dudonalsradio@gmail.com, or you can DM me on those social media sites. Goddess Joshalynn, Coach Joshalynn, Upgrader Joshalynn, Boss Joshalynn, CEO Joshalynn, Healer, Empower, Affirmer, your next multimillionaire. Thank you for allowing me to come on this gracious platform, and I look forward to a subsequent conversation after.
Absolutely. Thank you so much once again. Knowledge, everybody. Make sure you check him out, y'all. I hope that you have really taken the opportunity to look at today's topic from an unbiased opinion and look at it as the beginning of the healing process, which is what we need to do in order to get to where we are trying to go. And that is ultimate ascension, stability, and taking credibility for the things that we are currently doing here in this lifetime and for the future generations to come in realms. Everybody, I want to say thank you for being a part of When Joshalynn Speaks. Please make sure that you are turning on that notification bell or however it works on Facebook. When Joshalynn Speaks is also on YouTube and Instagram. So please make sure you follow and support y'all. Blessed.